is going on, Knicks family? It's your boy, UnclefOOlio, and I'm back with another episode of The Kontroversy, ladies and gentlemen. As always, these episodes are sponsored by Nothing But Knicks. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit that notification bell to be notified anytime we go live. Pre-game coverage, post-game coverage, NBA report videos, controversy videos, Queens Court videos. We have it all for you here on NBK. Coach's Corner, shoot-around videos. We have it all for you here on NBK, ladies and gentlemen. As you can tell, I'm here with a special guest, ladies and gentlemen, a special guest. And what I did was I started the video, had him coming from the intro, from the beginning, from the get-go. He is the co-host of the Still Knick Fans podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go to the description of this video and subscribe to the Still Knick Fans channel. He is also a fellow panelist on board the NBK channel. He's the co-host of the NBA Report on the NBK network. Please show your love and put your hands together for my boy Ron from Still Knick Fans. Ron, what's good with you, my man?
Man, that intro was fabulous. I need to this is recorded, so I might have to snip this. I appreciate you, my brother. That's dope. Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me. This has been a long time coming. If y'all knew how many times Josh and I have tried to get together to do the controversy, it's incredible. But we're here now.
We are here. We are definitely here. And ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the tardiness. I already told Ron what was going on backstage. I'm not going to tell all of you because it is kind of embarrassing. But I do apologize for the tardiness. We're here now, and we're going to get this thing going and get this thing popping. Obviously, Knicks are on a 7-game winning streak, ladies and gentlemen. 7 games. This is the largest winning streak since the COVID year, 2 years ago when we made the 4th seed. 7 games, and everyone thought that, including myself. I don't want to say everyone, but myself and a lot of others included thought that this would be a stretch of games where the Knicks would struggle. Particularly first half of the season, I definitely had the Knicks under 500 by this point, and the Knicks are currently 4 games over 500. They're 17-13 in the Eastern Conference. So, Ron, just give me your thoughts on the 7 games, the teams that the Knicks have played, the style of basketball they played, and just tell me what you think about this 7-game winning streak.
Well, it's been fantastic. It's been great. It's really fun to watch them play and go out there. They look like they're really playing as a unit now, which I'm loving. For so long, watching them throughout the season, trying to see if they, could discover some form of identity. I think they're getting back to it. I don't want to say 100% they got it yet, but I know they're close. I think they're definitely, and obviously it tends to lead on the defensive side, but it's really great to watch. I'm really happy with seeing the contributions that Deuce and Grimes have been making. And I'm just happy to see that Julius looks like he's back to that most improved player form. He's not really stressing out there. He's just playing basketball. I think with the addition of these guys playing defense, Deuce and Grimes, now, these other guys can kind of not sit back, but they can focus on just going out there and playing and not worrying about doing, above and beyond what they're capable of doing. Like RJ can just worry about, just playing basketball. Not, I've got to guard this guy. I've got to pick up for this guy. No, he can just play, and his defense is getting better because of it. Jalen's been fantastic. Mitch has been great. Everything has just been going really good. So I can't really say anything but, really positive things about this 7-game win streak.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. A lot of things just seem to be working for the Knicks right now. Everything's, going on all cylinders. Obviously, we play Golden State at home. We got a 3-game home stretch coming up. Golden State, Toronto, and I forget what the last team is for that 3rd game. And the Knicks, they're back home. They're back home. So, it's been impressive to watch this team play basketball lately, ladies and gentlemen, and they're doing it with defense. That is a New York thing. If you can play defense in New York City, defensive basketball, you will be loved. And this team is doing exactly that. Ron, what do you think the biggest reason for the Knicks' success is? Like, you mentioned a whole bunch of things, but if you had to pinpoint one specific thing, what do you think the biggest reason for the Knicks' success over these last 7 games?
Honestly, I think it's the commitment to defense. Just saying, look, what we've been doing hasn't been working. And, my biggest knock on this current Knick team for this year was, especially in regards to Tom Thibodeau, was like Tom Thibodeau, I get on him about his rotations, his adjustments. and things like that. And the other big thing was, he's not the best at, I feel, calling offensive sets. But one thing I felt like Thibodeau could hold his hat and hang his hat on was defense. Like, I never had to worry about a Thibodeau team playing defense. But this year, up until a couple games before this, 7-game win streak, the Knicks were in the bottom of the NBA in defense. Like, some of the way, some of these stats and the metrics were horrible, and the effort, wavered from time to time, and some of these guys just look worse than I've ever seen them. And for a Thibodeau coach team, I was like, no, something's not right, and that's why I wanted him gone. But that's a whole nother story. But now they're playing the defense that we expect. So I think it's the commitment to defense is what's changed everything around. I don't even want to say if it's the just shortening the rotation. I just think it's playing the right guys in there, giving them the minutes like Deuce and Grimes, and funneling that stuff into Mitch where Mitch can do his thing. I think that the commitment to defense is huge.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that is the biggest reason why the Knicks have won 7 games in a row. I've always said that the defense is what's going to keep them in ball games. But their defensive and the plays that they make at the end of games defensively is what's literally won them these games. Won them these games. You got Quentin Grimes making a big block shot last night on, I believe it was Buddy Hield, a big, huge block shot. You got Julius Randle with those rebounds at the end of games, big free throws at the end of games, knocking those down. And then you just got the Knicks basically playing smart basketball, taking care of the basketball at the end of the game. This is what I say, Jalen Brunson, right? You have him at the end of games being able to slow things down. This is what we brought Jalen Brunson in here for. Now, in the beginning, it wasn't necessarily working out because the Knicks, even though they were in games, they weren't necessarily winning those close games. 12 games this season, they've lost by 6 or less points, which equaled the amount of times they lost those games last season. So it wasn't necessarily working. But now in this 7-game stretch, you see the reason why having a player like Jalen Brunson is important. And he's won us some of these games himself at the end, right? But I totally agree with you. I think it is the defense that is helping us win these games. And hopefully we can be able to keep it up. We actually have a 4-game homestand coming up. So it should be Golden State, Toronto, Chicago at home. We play them again. And then on Christmas Day, it's going to be Philadelphia on Christmas Day. Matinee. The Knicks always play at home, right? So 4 games. A very, very tough stretch. Still tough. You can't sleep on any one of these teams. Toronto, obviously, division rival. Golden State, we all know about them already. They're not playing the best basketball right now, but they're still a really, really good team, and you can't sleep on them, right? But all the veteran championship players that they have, right? Chicago, we already know about Chicago already. They need a point guard in the worst way, right? They need someone to really slow that ship down. Lonzo Ball's been out for the last year and a half, right? So they definitely need that. And then Philadelphia. Right, Philadelphia has been one of the class organizations within the Eastern Conference and the Atlantic Division for the past 4 years, right? So these are all going to be tough games. Do you think the Knicks can be able to continue what they're doing? Do you see a pathway forward for the Knicks to basically continue doing what they're doing, playing good defense and doing just enough to win some of these ball games coming up?
Yeah, I think now at this point that I can see, that the team has bought into what Thibodeau is trying to do. I think they can definitely sustain this. Now, it may not be as successful going forward because you're gonna, continually play different teams and different matchups, and there'll be adjustments that these teams are making not only to the Knicks offense but to whatever defense they're running against them. So, I think it's something that the Knicks can continue to do. It's just all about how effective is it, and also the adjustments that Thibodeau, tells the team to make throughout the course of a game, especially from first half to second half. Because I pointed to a stat that I saw the other day. I mentioned it on one of the shows. The whole thing about the Knicks getting off to really good starts really translates to them winning. Whatever they do when they're having leads in the first half of games, it's huge in determining whether they're going to win the game, overall. So, yeah, I think that's going to be big for them.
And I agree. I agree. I think they will still be in games. They're not going to get blown out, right? Whether they win or lose, that's yet to be seen. But I think they're going to be in games. I think they can definitely continue up this style of play. Will it necessarily translate to more wins? I'm not sure about that yet. There's still some things that I want to see. And let me just pull up this graphic here with the stats from the past 7 games compared to the Knicks regular season. I did this in the last controversy when the Knicks were on a 6-game winning streak, but I updated it to reflect 7. The numbers are very, very similar, right? Very similar from the last time the Knicks played, or that the last 6 games prior to this last one. Offensively, we're still struggling a bit with some of these numbers, right? The only thing that people kind of hang their hat on is going to be your offensive efficiency, 113.5, which is 11th in the NBA during the last 7 games, right? Which is a good number, right? A good metric compared to the rest of the league. But if you look at the rest of these offensive numbers, the numbers are going down offensively. And this is why me and Sim were going back and forth, and we're going to address that in a bit. But if you look at our points per game, the assists have gone down, the turnovers have gone up, the pace has gone down compared to what the Knicks have done throughout the course of the season. But obviously, if you have those defense numbers right there on the bottom right, defensive rating, first in the NBA, 99.9. 97 points per game the Knicks are giving up, first in the NBA. Opponents are shooting 43% from the field, which is third in the NBA during the last 7 games. And, of course, opponents' three-point percentage, 27.6 opposing three-point percentage, which is now first in the NBA 7 games. That's the reason right there why the Knicks have been in these ball games. And I expect the defense to continue playing the way it plays. But to me, my big concern is the offense. What do you think about that? The offense.
Yeah, I think that the offense is definitely taking a little bit of a dip. Well, I mean, depends on how you look at it. But yeah, I think the offense is definitely taking a little bit of a dip. But I think I can say personally for me, I'm not upset about it, because if they're sacrificing some offense for better defense, I'm okay with it, because it looks like it's translating to wins. I think it's kind of, it's hard for me to kind of just look at the Knicks in a vacuum, because I'm just thinking about everything that goes on with them. And when I look at stuff like this, it just kind of makes me think of the front office and all the moves we made to get to this point. You mean to tell me we had one of the best defensive teams in the league with Reggie Bullock and Elfrid Payton, and then we sacrificed on some defense to bring in some more offense with Kemba and Fournier, only for us to eventually come back into this season realizing that we wanted to push the pace and change the way we played on offense, to find out that doesn't work, and we need more defense. So now we're sacrificing the offense for the defense. Like, it's, I don't know, it's just crazy to me. But yeah, I'm not upset about it, because I think that the Knicks were playing. I think when you look at it, their offense was probably one of the better offenses in the league as far as just numbers, how much points we're scoring per game. I think we could sacrifice a little of that for better defense in the end, because we're not extremely versatile offensively. We can score, we can get in the paint and get baskets, but 3-point shooting wise, we're one of the lower level teams in the league. So we're not that versatile. So I think it's okay if we sacrifice a little offense for more defense.
Well, I want to get to that. Because there's a discussion that I had with Sim, and we kind of went back and forth on some of the YouTube videos in the comments. And I wasn't able to get on with him like we're doing now, having a discussion. But I just kind of left my stuff in the comments, and he didn't take too kindly to it, and he responded. So we're going to kind of get to that. But let me shout out some people in the chat. Once again, y'all, thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, I apologize for the tardiness, but we are here now. Me and Ron are going to be on for just about an hour, get in and out of there. We got some other MBK shows coming up later, so I definitely want you to go check those out as well. Okay. Geraldine MacGyver, she says, salute to Josh in the chat. Salute, Geraldine MacGyver. Good to see you. Rich
the
Jam,
first lady.
The first lady, Geraldine MacGyver. Rich Jam, thumbs up and some fireballs. Appreciate that. Hans Gamer, New York Knicks for life, orange and blue. Salute from Switzerland. Swiss in the house. Switzerland is in the house. Thank you very much, Hans. Ricardo Custer, salute Josh here from Uruguay, watching you guys. Salute to Ricardo from Uruguay. Wow, we got the whole world in the building. The whole world is watching us. Ron, what's going on?
Pretty dope, bro. It's pretty dope.
Salute. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. JJ, salute Josh and Ron. Hold that Mets shirt up high, Josh. Let's go Mets. Absolutely. I got my resident Met fan in the house. You know what I'm saying? Let's go Mets. Big press conference we had today with Kodai Singh. I watched some of it. I think he's going to be a tremendous pickup for us. Definitely looking forward to that. Pudge Knight said, pods are going to start running out of content because we're winning. Never. Not UnclefOOlio. UnclefOOlio always has something to talk about. So Watch me more because I definitely would make a conversation out of something. We will find something to talk about. No question about that. Debut, salute to you. JJ says defensive energy and Grimes has helped us stabilize the perimeter defense. Absolutely agree. Absolutely 100% agree. I thought he should have been a starter from the get-go. And, you know, it's definitely helped us out. And not to say that Evan Fournier was, you know, a detriment to the team. I really appreciated what Evan Fournier brought to us last season. But for the style of Tibbs wants to play, it was obviously great to have Grimes in that starting lineup instead of Evan Fournier. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more as well. Robert Woodard says, still Knicks fans. UnclefOOlio, what's up? What's going on, Robert Woodard? Thank you very much. Wow. HP Carlos, much love from Portugal. We got Portugal in the building. So that's Switzerland, Uruguay, and Portugal.
International NBK in the building.
International. Salute. Thank you very much, Carlos. Really appreciate you, my brother. Salute to D's World of Hoops. He said, peace and prosperity to the chat. Salute to you, D. Make sure I go like and subscribe to D's World of Hoops right here on YouTube. I had him on a few shows back. Definitely go on there, get that link, and definitely subscribe to that channel. Appreciate that. Subliminal 209 said, Josh, what's good? What's good? Subliminal. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Charlie Solomon says, salute. Jalen Brunson is the most improved player this year. I don't know if he's going to win most improved. I thought what Jalen Brunson is doing right now, definitely taking his game up to another level. But I don't know if most improved is going to be in the cards for him. I think there's a lot of other players out there who are capable of winning most improved. This is what we're seeing from Jalen Brunson is, you know, what we've seen over the years. I knew he was going to be a really welcome addition to this team. So I'm not surprised by it at all whatsoever. I think his roles are definitely increased on this team. But I just don't know if he has enough to win most improved. Definitely a fringe all-star, though. Definitely a fringe all-star. I wanted to see a little bit more from Brunson, but he's definitely showing that he's can make a push for that all-star. Lorenzo Gibbs, yo, salute, Lorenzo. Thank you very much. Bobby Santiago, salute, Knicks fan in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, I'm in Charlotte too, Bobby. So maybe you've seen me around, you know, shopping at the Food Line or Publix or something like that. But I'm also in Charlotte as well. So if you see me out, make sure you say what's up. But salute to you, Bobby. Thank you for tuning in. And HP Carlos said all-star for Jalen Brunson. I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Now, Ron, you brought up a point in regards to Evan Fournier and the moves that the Knicks have made over the past couple years. And I know we disagree about this. So I'm going to kind of address some of that right now, right? Do you think that, I asked this question before. I asked it to Jay Ellis on the last show, on the last controversy. But do you think the Knicks plan is currently working, right? First of all, do you think that they have a plan? And do you think that if they do have a plan that it's actually working and that, you know, do you know what that plan is? And what is your interpretation of what the Knicks are trying to do from a overall front office perspective?
Well, I know personally that we've had this conversation too, a little bit, not too much, but we've kind of had differences of opinion on this too. I don't feel like the Knicks, I don't think this is the Knicks' initial plan. I don't even think this is the Knicks' backup plan. I think this is another variation of the plans that they looked at certain options that may have not presented themselves, and then they formulated something. And as time has gone past, and as they've seen the data, like watched how the Knicks played, watched how certain guys perform, they've kind of changed their thought process throughout this time, these past couple of years, and developed another plan. So I think we're in whatever that plan is. I don't think this is what they initially thought was going to happen. I think they've deviated a couple different times from certain things that they might have come up with. I don't necessarily know what this current plan is because I don't know what the direction of this team is. You know, when you look at a team that you're watching out there in the basketball court and the team is searching for an identity, right? The team doesn't even know what they're supposed to be. Now it looks like they're starting to formulate the defensive identity, which is what they always would have been in the first place on the Tibbs. But as far as an organization, I don't even know if we have a direction. You know, I don't know. It's not about are we playing the young people? That narrative is dead. I think that we can finally move on from that. I thought it was dead early. To start the season, I thought it was dead. Like, that's not an issue. They're playing the young guys. They've been playing the young guys. Now they're playing the young guys even more. Fine. It's over. The point is, are we going to build with the young guys and keep cultivating and add pieces to the youth and just develop that way? Or because Thibodeau has a certain window, Brunson has a different little window, but really Julius Randle has a window that has to be, taken into account. Do we start building to start winning now? And I don't think they've really addressed that yet. They haven't shown us. If the Knicks made a move and brought in some type of star, like at the trade deadline, then I could say, okay, we're definitely in this whole, we're going to be trying to win in the next few years. Maybe next year or the year after, they're going to keep building and putting something together. But I don't know yet. So I don't know. I'm a little on the fence about it, Josh. But
no, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say that if you do remember, I may not be in on Fournier now because at this point I just don't see the value there. But when Fournier first got here, I was one of the people who championed the move because I really liked Fournier because he was kind of a pseudo Knick killer. He wasn't Terrence Ross type, but he used to light the Knicks up. So,
yeah, well, I just want to address something you said. You said that the Knicks front office deviated from what they originally were going to do. What were they originally going to do in your eyes? Because you said they deviated from that plan. So what was the deviation from? What do you think they were trying to do before that they kind of deviated from?
Okay, I think the initial plan was just to get as much good young talent as you could possibly get, right? Just to change the culture of the team. Because we had some guys on this team. I hate because I don't like to talk bad about guys, but we had some guys on this team that were basically journeyman role player types. They were young, they hadn't been in the league that long, but they weren't really gonna make a huge impact.
Who are you talking about? Let's just get some context in here.
Man, I knew you was gonna do that.
No, because I really want to hear your perspective because you said a lot of things that I disagree with, but I want to be able to address that fully and thoroughly.
Well, he was on the way out, but like the Cleanthony Earlys, the Galloways, the you know what I mean? Like those type of guys, the Alonzo Triers. I mean, say what you will. People love saying Alonzo Trier looked like a walking bucket. Fine. The dude didn't play no defense. He was a head case. He never passed the ball. Yes, he could light it up, but that's not necessarily the type of guy you want to build with. He's the type of piece you can add to an already made team to get you some extra buckets, but not for a Knick team that doesn't have any identity and no star type players here.
But that's like 4 or 5 years ago. I was talking about just this regime.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that's the type of player that we've had here until Tibbs got here. And then that was the thought process okay, we need to bring in some better young talent and change the dynamic of the team and grow from there.
So this front office has not deviated then when this new front office came in.
That was initial. That's the first thing. We got to get some young talent in here that we can start developing and building. But it changed right away because when you bring in a hire like Tom Thibodeau, Tom Thibodeau wants to win now. He's a win now coach. So then it became, okay, well, let's try to bring in the Kyries and the Durants and let's bring in these high priced stars. And none of them wanted to come here.
But that was before Tibbs, though.
No. I'm saying that's the plan, the thought process to bring in those type of guys. We lost out on Kyrie and Durant prior to him. But that wasn't not like the thought was gone. We still wanted to bring in star players, but nobody was coming.
I'm not sure if your timeline is correct, Ron. Thibodeau and Leon Rose got hired right around the same time. I hired Leon Rose at the end of one season. That off season, Mike Miller was gone, and then that's when Tibbs came in, right? But before, everything you're talking about is before. It's pre-Leon Rose.
It's the 1 year.
Thibodeau.
It's the 1 year prior when Fizdale was here. I know.
Right.
Because I remember.
No, but I was asking you to address what you said in regards to this current Knick front office deviating from their original plan. Well, when they got here, the Kyrie thing and the KD thing was already over with. So I want to know what the original plan, in your eyes, what the original plan of the front office was, because you said they deviated from it. So I want to know what.
Well, that's still to me. That's still the original plan, Josh. Because remember, he may look like he's in a backseat role now, but at that time, Scott Perry was more than just a backseat driver. Leon Rose has taken control of everything because he is the man who signs the checks. He's responsible. But when he was transitioning into this role, Scott Perry was the one that was kept here. Mills was gone, and Scott Perry's thought process with Steve Mills, I believe, carried over. I believe Scott Perry was very influential in the the first. That's why That's why I'm carrying over this whole thing. Since a lot of people don't think about that, but that's why you got Ron here. So
that's why. That's exactly why. You're right. You're right.
So that's my thought process. I'm thinking, that was the plan, and it wasn't like it was a bad. What the Knicks were doing under Mills and Scott Perry wasn't all bad. There was some good that came out of that, and obviously, part of that was acquiring some of these picks that we got. Obviously, they've built more upon it, but Mills helped with that, and Perry gave some vision to that. I mean, we did acquire picks before, Scott Perry, Steve Mills was out of here. We did have some picks. So I got to
he made the Porzingis trade. That absolutely. But listen, I'm not giving Steve Mills any credit. He was just a horrible executive. I mean, he was just horrible. Now, and
he wasn't great.
You bring up a great point about Scott Perry, right? Because back when Steve Mills was here, Steve Mills, president of basketball operations, he was not a basketball man. He was a businessman, right? And he was someone that was a loyalist to James Dolan, and that's why he got hired, right? Scott Perry, on the other hand, is a basketball dude, respected around the NBA. I've always said that Scott Perry, he could very well be having a job and running his own front office anywhere around the league, have a vice president, general manager role, or president of basketball operations role anywhere around the NBA. I was very surprised that the Knicks kept him around when Leon Rose got hired. Very, very surprised by that. But I do want to say, I think that idea of trading for superstars, that came from the top down. It didn't come from Scott Perry. That came from the top down. That came from James Dolan. That came from Steve Mills. James Dolan's the one that went on the radio show without his notepad, right, saying that we're going to get some guys to come in here, right? And then we failed. And then we got Julius Randle in here instead of getting KD and Kyrie, right? Now, Scott Perry was a part of that. Scott Perry, I don't specifically know what the roles are from the basketball operations standpoint. You do have Leon Rose there, and you have Scott Perry as a general manager. Most teams have one guy, one figurehead at the top of their organization, right? You have a president of basketball operations / GM, or you have a vice president of basketball operations / GM. There's not many teams that have this multitude of figures making basketball operations calls, right? The Knicks are one of the few organizations that do that. Typically, it's one figurehead, right? And then you have some assistant GMs under them for college scouting, pro scouting. The Knicks have a president of basketball operations and a general manager. It's like a team effort, right?
Right.
So it's very, very hard to define what the specific roles for those guys are. But I can tell you, based on the way the Knicks were, what they were doing before Leon Rose got here, that came from the top down, and you can just tell. Right. So to me, where I disagree with you is I don't think the plan has changed much with this front office at all. I think this is what they were trying to do overall. And I've been screaming for them to talk to the media and do stuff like that because I believe that's where the accountability is going to lie. But to be honest, I'm watching what the Knicks are doing as far as how they've organized the roster, the contracts that they give out, and what's happening right now. To me, I don't think much has changed. I think their plan was to always develop the young talent, right? And, sign some contracts to these 1-2 year deals to eventually get these young players playing time. Think about it. When they first got here, when Leon Rose first got here, that first full year, that COVID season, most of those contracts were expiring. Taj Gibson, Reggie Bullock, Alec Burks, Derrick Rose, Nerlens Noel, all those contracts were expiring, right? So they had to come into the following season after the 4th seed year and fill a bunch of those roster spots. And because they didn't have as many rookies and many young players as they do now, they have to go out and sign players. They can't sign young players who are not up for contract yet, right? So that's the reason why you saw Taj Gibson, Evan Fournier be bought in here, Derrick Rose, and those people be bought back, right? Only on 1-2 year deals. And what happened? They always knew that they were going to trade those players. Those players weren't going to be here long term. And that's exactly what happened. Nerlens Noel's on another team now. Alec Burks is on another team now. You're seeing Derrick Rose about to be traded, right? He has no place in the rotation now, right? Evan Fournier is now on the trading block. So to me, I think that's what the Knicks have always been trying to do since they got here, develop these young players. And for everyone that was screaming, play the kids, it definitely looks played out now. But even last season, a lot of these kids were getting playing time. Maybe not as much as you wanted them to, but to me, I think they got ample playing time to be able to develop and show what they can do. And I think now it's paying dividends. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think the play the kids narrative is definitely, I think that's over. I agree, like I said. But I do think that part of the issue last year was some of us were not necessarily saying that they weren't playing the kids, is that they weren't playing the right kids. In certain situations, I think there was guys that deserved to be playing out there, or there was basketball play on the Knicks end that was not good enough for whoever they had out there at the time to continue to play. Like, there should have been a moment where you take a look at someone else. Last year, I feel like I regurgitate this, but I can't forget it. Like, there's been moments where we've seen the Knicks team play other teams, and certain perimeter players lit us up, and we had no answer. And Tibbs had Deuce McBride on the bench. Didn't even think to go to him and say, "Well, give me 5 minutes, give me 3 or 4 minutes. Let me slow down this burn, that because we're being lit up right now." That stuff, that things like that is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying, when I say play the kids, I may be different from other people. Other people may say, I want to see these guys play consistently every game. I, at that point, just wanted guys to come in situationally because we needed an answer and we didn't have it on the team. But you got a guy on the bench. If he's on the bench,
this right.
He should be able to play.
So let me just get this right. So let me just get this right. You wanted to see certain kids play because they could have helped us win games last year.
Yeah, at certain points. Yeah.
Okay, and that's fine, and that's fine. So if that's where what your argument is, I have no argument whatsoever with you on that, right? Because Tibbs is very stubborn in his rotations. We all know about Tibbs and all of that stuff. But there's a lot of people who say that they wish that some of the kids would have played more last year because somehow they would have been developed way better than what they're doing right now. What they're doing right now is great, right? But some people say, well, the Knicks, it could have been happened way sooner if we would have played them last year. To me, I don't think that makes a huge difference in that. Because look what they're doing right now, right? You know what I mean? It's not like they've developed less because Tibbs, had them in certain roles last season. You know what I'm saying? So if your argument is about the Knicks could potentially win games last season, I have no problem with that. But let me ask you a question. What about Obi Toppin? Do you think Obi Toppin should have played more in spite of Randall? Do you think that would have helped the Knicks win more games? Because I don't.
It's fun. It's it's good that you bring that up, because when you say the whole thing about them developing, I agree and disagree only with maybe the exception with Obi, because I do think that what benefits guys like Jericho Sims and Deuce McBride is that they weren't given the opportunity to play for the big club, but they were sent down to the G League, and they played a good amount down there and got to really continue to play basketball. I know the level of competition is not the same, and the defense is putrid down there, but the point was they got to play. And they got to be able to come back and forth, be with the big club, so they feel like they're a part of something. But, if there's no time, I can at least go down there and continue to fine-tune my skills playing basketball. And certain guys don't have that opportunity because you feel like they're too valuable to be sent down to the G League.
Like the OBs, the top picks.
Correct. To me, that is a little, and the only person that I feel really got affected by that is Obi, because I think Obi, to the point where some of it's obviously his own doing on the defensive end. He just didn't do enough to instill confidence in Tibbs. So Tibbs would play him, as much as he felt like he could play him. He doesn't want to uproot his style of play for the defensive side of basketball. But then again, on the flip side, as you guys can remember, towards the end of the season, this is where it all starts to come out. Towards the end of the season, when Obi went on that nice little streak of games, yes, the competition was weak, but the point is the guy was putting up 30, 40 points, whatever, and he played and he was confident. And when they talked to him, he said, yeah, I was lacking confidence all year. I just wasn't, it was tough. Part of that was also the yelling, the benching whenever he made a bad move. He's a young guy. I don't care if he's 24 years old. He's an older young guy when it comes to NBA basketball. And I've said this before. I'm not going to change. I don't care if the Knicks win 20 in a row. Tibbs, to me, is different from other coaches. He may say a whole bunch of stuff behind closed doors to build up their confidence and work with them, but other coaches will not only do that in practice, but they'll do it on the court. If a guy messes up, they'll go over to him, tell him something, give him a little bit of encouragement. I'm not saying Tibbs doesn't do it. I just never see it. So a guy like Obi, to me, he's the type of guy that needs that. Everybody complains and says Obi's soft. He don't have that pit bull. Well, if he is soft and he don't have that pit bull and he's on your team, then you got to cater to what he is. If he's on this team and you want to get something out of him, then you better cater to what he is so you can get the best out of him. That's all I'm saying. That's my point.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Let me get to some of these comments. Sherwin, good evening. Welcome aboard, Sherwin. Thank you for tuning in. He says Brunson, All-Star, Trae Young, DeJounte, Kyrie, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, Tyrese Maxey, and the East alone. They're all better than Brunson. I don't know if all of them are per se better than Brunson, and being better than someone does not necessarily mean you're going to be an all-star, right? A lot of it comes down to playing time, or not playing time, but the amount of games that you play. Jalen Brunson hasn't missed a game this season. Has not missed a game this season. Trae Young's missed games. Kyrie, obviously, we know about that. Darius Garland's missed some games. And I don't know if anybody heard the Alan Hahn thing at the was it Alan Hahn or Wally at the end of the post game coming out to Halliburton. Like that seemed like crazy, like personal, right? But Brunson definitely has an opportunity to make the All-Star game. Will he make it? I don't know, but you can argue based on what he's doing on the floor, numbers, stats, that he deserves to be in that conversation. Will he? I don't know because of what you said, but let's not say, oh, because they're all better than Brunson, that Brunson doesn't have a chance. That I don't agree with. Lorenzo Gibbs, Obi Toppin's athleticism, Cam Reddish defense, somewhat a hot streak, and offensive game. He needs a plan. He needs a better plan than what he has now, but so proud of the 7 straight wins. And we're going to talk about that plan a little bit more. Charlie Solomon says, what star do I think the Knicks will go for? We're going to come back to that. Let me put that a star on that one. So I want to come back to that question. DJ Space Ghost, salute Ronnie John, salute to you, Space Ghost. Knicks 100 a game says, talk all that nonsense about the front office and our players. I don't know if he's talking about me or you. Here we go. Lorenzo Gibbs. If Randall plays like this for the rest of the year and into the playoffs, stop talking about trading Randall. Please, Obi Toppin still needs to start behind him or alongside him. Earlier in the season, I said that I thought that Obi Toppin should start over Julius Randle. Not because it was anything against Julius, but I just wanted the Knicks to continue their faster play offensively. I want them to move the basketball. What's happening right now is basically what we've seen the last 2 years from an offensive standpoint. And we're going to talk about that as well. The Knicks ISO ball, and right now it's working out. It's doing just enough to win them games, but I do have my concerns about that moving forward. Brightest future is the blue. Rod play Ione. Draymond and Rodman, I don't know about. We don't have anybody like that on this squad. Now, if you're talking about defensive toughness and all that, I would agree with you. But if you're talking about someone that is going to punch you in the face, no pun intended to Draymond, I don't think Grimes is that player. I don't think we have that player on this team right now. Junior Honore says, the plan is clear as daylight now. Build a team to create a winning coach for the next 3 to 4 years, then push for a championship. Tanking is not in Teb's DNA. I agree with that. And salute to Junior, who's all the way in Dominica, the island of Dominica. Thank you. We're still worldwide, Ron. We're still worldwide. All right, let me get a couple more of these comments now. I know I saw a super chat somewhere. Let me see if I can get that. Salute to Tony Crow, Knicks and Bruises. Wellner Martinez, but what if Tibbs didn't feel like they were ready at that point in that development? And that's what my thing to you. What if they simply at Tibbs didn't feel like they were ready? You know what I mean? Everyone in New York, I know how New Yorkers are. I'm a New Yorker myself. Now. We want it right now. If it doesn't happen right now, it's never going to happen, right? But now we're seeing what Tibbs and everybody else has seen. Never the Disruptors. Thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, thanks for the great content, Josh and Ron. Really appreciate it while at work. No problem, Nev. Thank you. I love talking Knicks basketball with you. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, my brother. Thank you so much. All right. Let me go back to that star comment right here. What star do you think the Knicks will go for? Ron, if you had to pick one, or if you think the Knicks are still going for a star, who would you want in here?
Well, if it was up to me, I would want the Knicks to go after SGA. Do I think they would get him? No, because I don't see a reason why OKC and Sam Presti would want to trade with us. We don't really have nothing to offer them. Although I will say Julius is looking good, but I don't know if that he's a little older for their timeline. So I don't think that makes sense. If we did maybe a trade with if we could get a three team trade going with another interested party that maybe had some young, NBA talent that they could use, or a better looking draft pick that they could benefit from, maybe. But other than that, I can't see it happening. It's a pipe dream for me, but I would want SGA, a more realistic person that has been coming up, and I think it is realistic, is possibly Kyle Kuzma. Because I think Kyle Kuzma.
But he ain't no star, though. He ain't no star.
No. Oh, wait. Yeah, you said star. Okay, forget it then. then right now I really don't have an answer, because I guess another star that people might look at is Levine, and I don't like Levine for this Knicks team. So right now I'd have to think
Why,
about that.
why not Levine? Because I was hoping you said that name, but I wanted to get your perspective on why not him.
Yeah, personally, when it comes to Zach LaVine, I feel like Zach LaVine has always shown spurts of being able to take over basketball games, but he's never shown that he consistently lead his team to victories. Like, and now that he's had the help of DeRozan, he's really taken a back seat to DeRozan a lot. And when DeRozan's not there, I don't necessarily think Zach LaVine has stepped up and made the Bulls a better team. Like, I don't think the Bulls should be struggling as bad as they're struggling with the type of talent that they got on that team still. I know they don't have an orchestrator in Lonzo Ball, but even not having Lonzo, with having DeMar DeRozan, an all-star, Zach LaVine, an all-star, Vucevic, an all-star, having young guys like the Williams, the power forward kid, Patrick Williams, like having that type of guy, and then having someone else they got on the team too, and Ayo. Like, they got some players over there, and then Caruso, who plays defense. They should not be as bad as they are. And to me, that goes down to your best players. There's something that they're not providing, which is the reason why you guys can't sustain winning basketball, games. That's my opinion. So I don't want Zach LaVine here. He's not going to bring me what I think this Knicks team needs.
So I disagree with you slightly, and only because I think Zach LaVine is a dog. I think he, on the floor, on the basketball court, he is skilled. He would instantly, in my opinion, be the best player on this team, right? And I know, again, controversial to say that Knicks have won 7 games in a row. It goes back to this, I've been telling you, Ron, for the past couple of years. We don't need nobody. We don't need nobody. We're fine just the way we are. It happens every single time. The Knicks fans, they don't want to bring anybody in. The Knicks have won 7 games in a row. Let's keep it just the way it is. We don't need to do anything, right? But I have to remind you, this Knicks team is going to be limited. They still need a star player to come in here, along with Brunson, to keep Brunson here, right? And I think that's going to take this Knicks team to the next level. Knicks are literally missing that one star player to go along with everything they got going on right now. Literally, that's what they're missing, right? To your point about Chicago, I think they're missing Lonzo Ball tremendously. I agree with you. I agree with you about their star players and something missing there. But to me, the thing that's missing is Lonzo Ball. I think before Lonzo Ball went out, Chicago was balling, dominating, right? They had that point guard to kind of save the ship. They were on. They were playing very good defense. Lonzo Ball, really good defender, by the way, right? But without him, they're struggling, right? So to me, that's the problem with Chicago right now. But as far as Zach LaVine, I think Zach LaVine can be the star that this team can definitely use. Absolutely. I know people have concerns about his knees and the surgeries and all that stuff. Very, very fair point, right? He just got paid a 5-year contract, so he's going to be in Chicago for a little bit of a long time. We'll see how that plays out. But you bring a Zach LaVine in here to go along with Brunson and Randall, to me, I think that takes this Knicks team to the next level, because you got someone who can go out and drop 30. Go out and drop 30 on every given night, and that's Zach LaVine, right? But I kind of can see where you're coming from in regards to Chicago not being where they're supposed to be, but I think that's mostly on them not having a point guard and not Zach LaVine himself. As far as other stars that are available, listen, RJ can go. As much as I would hate to see Grimes go, he can go as well to fill that spot, either that 2 or that 3 spot. If I had to choose between RJ and Grimes, I'm choosing RJ, because I think Grimes is a little bit more. He provides it on both ends. Catch and shoot, doesn't necessarily need the basketball. And he's a really good defender, right? RJ needs the basketball, right? Which I think can sometimes hamper the offense a little bit. So if I had to choose between RJ and Grimes to go, I would choose RJ. Sorry, Knicks fans, but that's just the way I feel about that. Yep, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, don't get me wrong. Zach LaVine is still a very talented player, and he can do a lot of special things out there on the court still. But my concern about him and his game is because some guys, now he's worked a lot on his game over the years, so his shooting is, has improved.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. But I will say some of his game is still predicated on his athleticism. And if you haven't looked, Zach LaVine's athleticism has diminished a little bit. It's not horrible. He's still like you put him on the Knicks, he's probably the most athletic guy on the Knicks, or at least maybe the second best. I think he'd be the most. But for Zach LaVine, it may make a difference in how effective he is. Like his biggest asset was that athleticism, being able to break you down a dribble, take you to the hole and dunk on you or lay it up on you. And then if you don't give him that, if allowing him to shoot, then he can shoot on you too. Like that that transition between the two made him very special and hard to guard. But keep in mind, even though Zach LaVine is 27 years old, like he's got a lot of weather times on them legs. This is his 9th season in the NBA. So
and if that's why people are concerned, no question about that. But a lot of Knicks fans sometimes, we don't need him. He's trash. You know what I'm saying? And that's Zach LaVine is not trash. I get it. We played them 2 games. We beat them 2 games, so we don't want anybody on that team. That's how it is, right? If we would have played Cleveland, right? Earlier when we played Cleveland, like a lot of people that wanted Spider, we don't need Spider. We don't need him. We beat them already. You know what I mean? They don't see the bigger picture when it comes to that kind of stuff. When it comes to injury, I totally agree with you. That's something that would have me kind of hesitant a little bit. But to me, I think it's worth a shot. In my opinion, I think it's worth a shot. 5 years, $215 million. I think he's worth that contract if you ask me. I'm sorry. I just think that he is. Right? Let me get some more of these comments in here, and we'll get to the final thing before we close out. Salute to Knicks fan Brazil. He said, I want a championship. Me too. And I know Ron does as well. Exactly. And Knicks fan Brazil, we got to talk because I want to get you on here too. I want to get you on here so we can chop it up. I'm big fan of what you do down in Brazil. We're still international, Ron. We are international today. Vincent Lagala, IQ's only knock is his efficiency, extremely inefficient when gets to the line and really can run a second unit offense. They also outscore with bro on the court. I agree. I think IQ is very, very streaky. I'm not worried about him at all. I think he'll find a way to snap out of this. I remember last season when IQ started off really poor. Every Knicks fan wanted him out of town, and then he finished off very strong. It's like, yay, we got to keep IQ. We can't move him. So that's a lot what's happening with IQ right now. I'm not worried about IQ. I think he'll be okay. Kuzma is a power forward, not a wing. You can put him at the wing, though, right? He's talented enough to do that. He'll be a young player that I'll be interested in going after. I don't think it's going to change the fortunes of this team or the ceiling of this team, but Kuzma is someone I would consider going after as another young piece to add to the puzzle. But I'm not really concerned with him. Booker, Embiid, Anthony Davis, who's that star that want New York? Listen, I think a lot of people want New York, particularly if the Knicks are playing the way they're playing now with this bed of young players. I think there's going to be a lot of, we haven't seen it yet, right? Because this is the first time the Knicks are really doing this, what they're doing right now in the last 20 years, right? This is the first time they're doing exactly what they're doing in the last 20 years. So, excuse me. I think there will be a star to come to New York and play with this better young players, in my opinion. Robert Woodard says, I doubt LaVine is the piece. Okay. Vincent Lagala says, no Zach LaVine. Debut says, Zach is not the guy. Marvin Smith says, Josh, please, Zach LaVine has a bad knee and is his contract insured. Old Head says, no to LaVine's $215 million contract. I can just keep going on and on, Ron. You know how this is going to end up. Knicks fan Brazil, LaVine is bad in defense. Well, RJ's bad in defense. What are you saying? Scott Wolf, Josh is another delusional Knicks fan who forgets about players like Amari. Would you trade RJ and Grimes for LaVine? You bugging. Would I trade RJ and Grimes for LaVine? Yeah, I would. I don't think that's delusional either. Why get rid of RJ now? You passed on Spider. That's a good point. All up in the camera for no reason. Just trade this and trade that. Bagger Nation, Josh, fellow Knicks fan, I never agree with you, but you do be right at times. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I don't get the credit that I deserve. All right, a couple more. D. Jones, Zach LaVine has a bad contract, and those knees aren't worth the time. Just wait for 2024 free agency. Jaylen Brown, DeJounte Murray, OG Anunoby won't have to give up a ton of assets. So 2 of those players I would say are stars. OG Anunoby, I don't think he's a star. So you're talking about DeJounte Murray, Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, I'll be for. I like Jaylen Brown. I think he'd be another piece to take us to a next level. But the question is money, right? The Knicks are above the salary cap right now, barely above the salary cap. So we can't sign these players outright. So they're going to have to make a trade at some point or shed some of this salary. All right, Ron, let's get to the last thing. And I've been kind of holding on to this. Hold on. I've been kind of holding on to this. So let me give the people out in the chat a little bit of background on this situation. So obviously, as you know, Sim runs the NBK channel. He's definitely given me the platform to come on here. Myself, Ron, Steph, and everything like that. But he had a show. I don't know if it was a pregame show or a postgame show, where he raised the question and asked the question about whether the Knicks' improved defense was due primarily to the Knicks playing an isolation style, slower pace on offense, right? I'm going to play the video of watching him say it, and then I'm going to respond. I first want to get Ron's take. I first want to get Ron's take on this, but let me play the video so everyone can see to kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about, and then we'll take it from there.
Or how your offensive game is predicated. Phil Jackson talked about this a few years ago when speaking about the triangle offense, and he was talking about how it helps you defensively because of the position that you're in on the offensive side and how you can get back on defense. You know what I mean? And, depending on the basketball IQ of your team, how they are defensively, it could dictate how you decide to play. I mean, every team's going to be a little bit different. And I'm not saying this is what the New York Knicks did, right? And I'm not saying that's what they're doing. I just raised the question, and it's not absurd. It makes sense. And it happens that way sometimes in the NBA and in other places, that you play a little bit slower to help your guys be in the best defensive position.
So that was Sim. He's basically saying that because the Knicks play at a slower pace offensively and they move the ball less, that's helped their defense, right? Now, I'm going to have Ron go first, and then I'll give my retort to that. But go ahead, Ron.
Okay. So I agree with Sim. I mean, he looks at it a little bit differently than I would look at it because he looks at it from a coaching aspect of it because he coaches. So the positioning, I may not be as familiar or understand that as much. I mean, it makes sense to me that I could understand that that's why Tibbs would feel a certain way about it, because making sure guys are back, in position. My thought process in regards to it would be about effort, right? And being rested enough to carry out what Tibbs wants you to carry out on defense. So if you're out there running more of a fast-paced flowing offense, trying to move around and score quickly, trying to get in transition more, my thought process is that by the time they get back on defense, these guys will be a little spent and won't give as much effort. And I'm not saying that without any reference to something in the past. We've seen how you can see Julius Randle go on offense, do all types of stuff, come back on defense and really be in somebody's face or be really active. But he's like the Tasmanian devil. Like, he expends so much energy. So then, if the play breaks down, now he's lost, or he's not loafing per se, but he's just slower. He's not moving. He might get beat backdoor or whatever. We've seen RJ get beat backdoor a bunch of times because he's not necessarily moving the way he should move and things of that nature. So I'm just thinking, like, if they're going to be expending more energy, moving the ball, pushing the pace, trying to get out there in transition, back on the defensive end, they might take a little play off here and there. And you take too many plays off here and there, you wind up being down, and then that could be the difference between you winning or losing a basketball game.
So let me just highlight Sherwin's comment right now, because I think part of what you're saying, what Sherwin's saying, I agree with, right? He said if you slow it down, it automatically slows it down for the other team and gives them less position. I think he meant possessions, right?
Possessions, yeah, that's true.
I agree with that, right? And that's strictly from a pace perspective, right? Because pace, the official stat of pace is possessions per game. So if you slow it down offensively and you run a lot of shot clock, basically you're giving the other team less possessions because there's only 48 minutes left to go in the basket. 48 minutes in an entire basketball game. Mm-hmm. That part I agree with. But Ron and Sim, if you're watching, this is not about transition offense and transition defense. This is not about that. The Knicks were playing terrible half-court defense. Half-court defense was terrible, right? I still believe, and one of Sim's points was he doesn't think that this Knicks team has the personnel to play that style. I absolutely disagree with that. I think this Knicks team is capable of playing the type of defense that they're playing right now, and offensively in the half-court offense, move the basketball. Moving the basketball to me has no effect. Moving the basketball and moving without the ball, right? In the half court, not in transition, in half court, right? To me, has no impact whatsoever on what happens on the other end of the floor. At all whatsoever. And that's why I call this comment absurd, because earlier in the season, when the Knicks were scoring a ton of points and giving up a ton, he didn't have that. He didn't say any of that. He was mad, just like the rest of us, questioning the Knicks defense, right? And not just questioning the defense, but questioning the philosophy of Tom Thibodeau. That's what it's about. That's what's changed with this Knicks team, right? Instead of packing the paint, the Knicks are now they have Grimes on the perimeter, RJ on the perimeter, defending these wings to prevent them from going to the lane. It's a philosophical change. It's not because the Knicks are unable to do it, right? So that's why I called his comment absurd. And Sim obviously knows me from a coach's perspective. I have to respect what he said, but I just didn't agree with the take, and that's the reason why I brought that up there. Okay. To me, I think this Knicks team is capable of moving the basketball. Tibbs chooses not to. It's fine. It's working out. It's helping the Knicks win games right now. But my concern is there's going to come a time, and we've seen this countlessly over the past 2 to 3 years, where the Knicks are playing this ISO ball, and they're stagnant on offense. Nothing's going down, and then people are going to say, well, the Knicks should move the basketball more, get the ball out of Julius Randle's hands, stop with the ISO. We've seen it, Ron. We've seen this type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I was coming from with that. I still think there is a way for Knicks to play tight defense as what they're doing right now and still move the basketball. They did it at the beginning of the season. They moved the basketball, right? And the only reason, to me, or one of the biggest reasons why they didn't defend that well is because of the strategy and Grimes being hurt and them packing the paint and not closing out on shooters. I think that's the biggest reason why. Not because this team can't do it. I believe we have the personnel to do it.
Well,
go ahead.
But let me ask you this, John. When was that comment made? That Sim made the comment. Yeah.
Oh, that was like a couple days ago, right? So he did a post-game show. I think it was after the 6th game, after we beat Chicago for the second time or the first time, one of those. And he said, because, he brought up the question, right? And then he said, I don't know. That's another part. He brought up the question, and then he said, well, I don't know if this is really the case or not, right? So he brought it up a couple days ago. I responded, and I called that question absurd because I think it's basically giving the Knicks a pass for the poor defense they played early in the season. That's essentially what the question is doing. You're giving the Knicks a pass, or you're opening the door to give the Knicks a pass for piss poor defense at the beginning of the season. And to me, that's why I called it absurd. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I see his point. Like I said, I agree with his point, maybe from a different perspective. And I see your point, what you're trying to say as far as their poor half-court defense. I get it, but, the only thing I could say is if Quentin Grimes wasn't injected into the starting lineup, and if he wasn't giving the opportunity to play these minutes, because in the course of this 7-game win streak, Quentin Grimes has played a lot. One of these games, he played 44 minutes. It's ridiculous. Right. By the way, the fact that Quentin Grimes is wearing a knee brace and Tibbs has him out there playing 44 minutes is nuts. But that's a Tibbs thing. We know who he is. Right. And also the inclusion of Deuce getting more minutes. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but Deuce's minutes have kind of calmed down a little bit. He was playing in the high 20s at certain points. Now those minutes have dropped down a little bit, but I still think the infusing of him and Grimes has been huge for the defense. I think that's been the key. Like if you take those guys out and have the same, play from Cam Reddish, for example, not that Cam wasn't playing defense, but it's just different. Like the way they're playing now is different. And I think the rest of the team has bought into it because Grimes and Deuce help out so much on the perimeter that it really helps Tibbs' schemes work better. And that's the key, because one of the big fundamental issues that I've had with Tibbs' defensive schemes is his 3-point defense. The idea, let's give up the 3-point shot, push him out as far, whatever, make him shoot from wherever. But these guys are knocking it down. So if you don't have the personnel to properly close out on these guys and they're getting open shots, you're going to get killed. We were giving up 3-point shots to all types of teams who don't even shoot the ball well, and they were killing us. So I think having the right personnel has definitely made a change in it. And it might not prove to the point of, Tibbs' idea that he doesn't want to play a faster pace because you can't really do it with the personnel. I do think that there's some truth to that, but I think the personnel has changed a little bit because now you got these guys in the rotation who can get up and down. Grimes can get up and down. Deuce can get up and down. So I don't think I think it kind of goes against what, Sim may be thinking of what I was thinking, because these guys can move better and they're effective on the defensive end. That's my thought.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one of the other points that Sim made that I want to address is I put up a team or a team, but there's multiple teams, in my opinion, that do this. They're able to play or move the basketball on offense and still be effective defensively, up on their man, not giving up anything easy. And I brought up Golden State. Now, a lot of times when you bring up a Golden State, the first thing Knicks fans are going to say, well, the Knicks aren't Golden State, right? But I think that's a very simplistic way to look at the things. We're talking about from a philosophical standpoint. Steve Kerr uses triangle offense principles, right? They move without the ball, right? And they play at a faster pace to get a ton of shots up, and back on the defensive end, they are able to still be up on that man. That's a philosophical thing, right? And then he said, well, the Knicks are not Golden State. The Knicks don't have the type of players to do that, right? And then his other point was, well, if the Knicks play a faster pace on offense, they're not going to have enough energy to do it. So basically what he's saying is the Knicks don't have the Golden State players have more cardio than the Knicks players. That's essentially what you're saying. Golden State is able to play at that pace because their cardio is better. And to me, I just don't agree with that. And that's the reason why I called it absurd. It's a highlight I want to highlight from Griff 181. He said, you got a point, but the word absurd is uncalled for. I mean, what do you want me to? What else do you want me to say? I don't agree with you. So you want me to say that? If I think something is absurd, I'm going to say it. I don't understand why the word absurd is so triggering to anybody. Absurd, preposterous. Is that a better word? You want me to say that? What do you want me to say? To me, I just think that I don't know. And me and Sim already spoke about this, but I definitely wanted to get on and address this part. I wasn't calling him absurd. I wasn't calling Sim preposterous because I respect what Sim brings to the table as far as his basketball knowledge as a coach. I think that's very important. I coach football. So I respect a coach's perspective a lot, right? But I just didn't agree with the take, and I called it absurd, right? And me and Sim already spoke about that. I wasn't calling him absurd. I said the take was absurd. So there you go, Griff 181. Nothing personal. Marvin Smith said, Josh, don't Steve Kerr play a San Antonio style of offense? Yes, they play. It's like a hybrid triangle type of offense where they move without the basketball. They're also running. They do a lot of cutting off the ball. Like, that's philosophical. That's something that the coach implements, right? Now, if you want to argue that whatever the Knicks are doing right now is working, cool. No problem. No problem whatsoever. It's working. It's won the Knicks 7 games, but I have my concerns about what they're doing on the offensive end. Ron, you got anything else to add to that before we close it out?
Yeah, no, listen, I just want it to be known, like, I'm really excited for the type of basketball this current New York Knicks team is playing. I'm really happy that whatever happened, I don't know who called for it. I don't know whose position this was based on. I don't know if it was Tibbs, the front office, or any of the other coaches, but whoever called the meeting, where these guys sat down. Well, no, the Julius called the team meeting, but apparently there was a front office coaching meeting with Tibbs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Apparently there was a front office coaching meeting with Tibbs, and that's why we see the shortened rotation and the implementation of Grimes being in the starting lineup and Deuce playing more now, because of that meeting that they had. So we had 2 separate meetings apparently, which is cool. I don't know who called for it. If it was Tibbs, then my whole fire Tibbs thing, I will take it back for now, because that means Tibbs saw, look, I'm a defensive coach. You got me trying to play with these other guys and get minutes. I can't do that. I need to focus on defense. These guys can help me. I'm going to shorten the rotation, and I'm going to play them. If that was Tibbs' idea, then I'm giving Tibbs credit for everything that's happening right now, and I'm rocking with Tibbs. But if that wasn't Tibbs' idea, which we'll never know, by the way, if it was the front office or maybe one of the other coaches came up with the idea and Tibbs was there to listen, to take it all in, and then to make the change, my position hasn't changed. I still think long-term, the Knicks need to move on from Tibbs, but I'm not saying that right now, guys. I'm saying he could play out the season, continue to do it, and maybe he'll change my mind. If they continue to play, he makes proper adjustments, and they look like they're getting better, fine. But I still think long-term, he's not necessarily the right guy for the team going forward. But right now, I'm happy. Go Knicks. Keep doing what you're doing. And I just want to clear up one more thing while I'm here. I said before that I thought the Knicks should trade Julius Randle because of the value, not because of any other reason. He's already cleaned up his act, because that's the whole point. The point is to clean up your act and show us something better. And I think Julius has done a great job all season with trying to keep his emotions in check, except for when he got thrown out. I think he's been much better. And his play has been great. So there's no reason to just give him away. But if somebody offers you something you can't refuse, hey. But that's it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I want to put out there.
Final few comments here. HP Carlos, much love from Portugal. Like I said, we international, Ron. We have Portugal, we had Switzerland, Dominica, so many different Brazil in the house. We had so many different countries. Come check us out today. Uruguay. Definitely appreciate all the love from everyone in the chat. Thank you for tuning into this episode today. Knicks Nation, salute Ron and John. My theory is Tibbs, along with Randall and RJ, made it difficult for Cam to be successful here. Playing Deuce instead of Cam is to say he's not picking on Cam, but karma is real. Okay. Steve Kerr played the same offense as the Knicks. It's a motion triangle offense. No, it's not. The Knicks don't. They ran that in the beginning of the season, right? But the Knicks don't run any triangle principles. They don't move without the basketball. That's what the triangle is. They're moving without the basketball. The Knicks do not do that. They have one guy at the top of the key, whether it be Randall or Brunson or sometimes RJ, right? And they run isolation, and then they try to draw a double team and kick it out and swing the ball around. Basic, stagnant offense, right? Right now it's working. The Knicks are getting open shots off of that. Julius Randle, because of his improved play, it's going to be successful. I get it. But there's going to come a time where the Knicks offense is going to be stagnant. Randle's not going to be hitting the same shots he's hitting, and we're just not going to be able to generate anything on offense. That's what my concern. Now, if we do, and we're winning games, no problem. I have no problem with it at all. But that's just my concern. That's the reason why I brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
Vincent Legala, Brunson, Randall, RJ would benefit from more off-ball movement. I agree. Any team benefits from that, regardless of the players. You're getting better looks and tired dudes when they go back on offense. He's talking about the defense when you guard a team that is moving without the basketball. I agree with that 100%. You can make the argument for the other way, right? Dyson 127. Josh just showed he has 0 IQ. Sim's comment made perfect sense. When they were playing fast, when coming back on transition defense, they were getting lost. Now they're in better position. But like I mentioned when I first started, Dyson, since I have 0 IQ, this is not about transition defense. Obviously, if you're moving without the basketball and you're playing at a faster pace offensively, transition defense is not going to be there. I'm talking about half-court defense. I'm talking about out of timeouts. A team is coming back in a half-court set, and they run a basic play where they drive to the lane, and Knicks collapse the paint, and they give up wide-open three-pointers. That's what I was talking about. Transition, I have no issues with the transition thing. Obviously, I get that part, but in the half-court, out of timeouts, you think that was about the Knicks moving the ball on offense? No, it was about a philosophical thing. Tibbs wanted to pack the paint because Rams was hurt. The personnel wasn't there on the perimeter, and we couldn't stop anybody from getting to the lane. So that's what it was about. It wasn't about the Knicks moving the ball on offense. So that's where I was coming from with that. I don't know about that whole 0 IQ thing. And let me just get one more comment. Subliminal 209 is saying how people in chat watch Knicks content creators and just troll to talk all that ish. Whatever. Well, Ron, thank you again. I appreciate you for coming on, man. Like I said, long time coming. I apologize that it took this long. We're definitely going to do this again in the future. And hopefully I can have John here with you so we can get the whole Still Knick Fans crew in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, Ron from Still Knick Fans, go to the link in the description of this bio to be able to get the link to Still Knick Fans. Subscribe to their channel. Check out their content. They do very dope work over there. My man Ron, my man John, my man Jose in the background.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? They do a really good work over there. Also, NBA Report Thursdays, right, Ron? Thursdays?
Thursday at 8
Report.
p.m.
Yep, just let the people know a little bit more about NBA Report. Let the people know a little bit more about that show.
Okay, so well, as Josh was saying, the Thursday 8 p.m. slot is usually where we hope to be, where you will see the NBA report on the Nothing But Knicks network. We try to go over, a lot of what's going on in the NBA, primarily Eastern Conference, because it might affect what's happening with the Knicks a little bit more. It's good to see the competition in the East. There's a lot of parity, and to see what they're doing and how that might translate to upcoming matchups with the Knicks and stuff like that. And we also talk about the Knicks a little bit as well. But you get Knick talk all the time on Nothing But Knicks. It's just a little bit of NBA as well. So we try to give you that. And definitely. Oh, by the way, before I forget, don't forget to tune in tonight at 9 p.m. for Still Knick Fans Weekly. I'm holding it down by myself tonight because my guy John is on vacation. Hopefully he's having a great time.
Sipping pina coladas right now. He's sipping pina coladas.
Yeah, man. He must be having a fun time. He deserves it, man. He works hard, so good for him. And so definitely check that out. SKF Weekly tonight at 9. As Josh was saying, the NBA report on Thursdays at 8, and then you got Still Knick Fans again on Saturdays 11 a.m. Know the Ledge. So we try to give you some content when we can.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Ron from Still Knick Fans. Please check out the content. We have a lot of content for you here on NBK and Still Knick Fans. We definitely appreciate you tuning in. Happy birthday to Tony Crow. It says Tony Crow's birthday right now. He said he's partying on a Monday. On a Monday, you know what I'm saying? Somebody at his age shouldn't be doing that. Now, I'm only playing, Tony. But happy birthday to you. Salute to everyone out there. Happy holidays to everyone. And I'll see you on the next episode of The Kontroversy. Peace, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out.